Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, this is going to be the Zero to Hero episode on the Bleed Sabertooth Beastmaster. You heard that right, Bleed Sabertooth. I made this build like well over 2 months ago and I finished it, but I hadn't been able to make a video about it until now because all of a sudden I have a lot of extra time on my hands because I'm recording and editing this on like a super shitty machine, mainly because my old machine died in a fire because, if you've been keeping up with me, you know what's going on. But because of that, first things off, I want to thank you guys all for all of the support you've been showing me for the GoFundMe. You guys have been absolutely amazing. I'm just blown away at all of the support I've been getting. Like, I'm so happy. Like, thank you guys so much. One guy even donated like $1,000. Like, seriously, you don't have to donate. Thank you so much. But this will help me in the future to help me make more quality content. I want to make more content, and I also want to stream. One of the biggest reasons why I didn't stream as much before was because my computer was a potato in comparison to like other people's computers. But now I'll be able to stream a lot more once that comes. Hopefully it'll come before the patch, but we'll see. I'm hoping to God it does. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is I am now a Max Roll affiliate. Now, this is going to impact a few things. The main thing is the planners I'm going to be using in the description are going to be the Max Roll planner. There's two main reasons for this. The first reason, it just allows me another income stream, right? Same kind of thing, but I'm pretty much doing the same exact thing I was doing before, except I get an extra, thing of income and achieve my goals. One of them being able to play almost every single build in Last Epoch. And the second reason is I really like the planner. One of the biggest features that this planner has that I'm really happy about is I am able to condense the entirety of the Zero to Hero journey in one planner. You heard that right. You no longer have to flip around 50 billion planners. You can simply click on one planner and have all of the info there from level 1 all the way to the finish. Every single tiddlywink you could possibly ask for is in one link, and you don't have to go anywhere else for it. It is absolutely amazing. Not only does it clean up my description, but it also makes it easier for you guys. So thank you guys. It's going to be amazing working here for that. Like, it's gonna be great. So thank you so much. Now, what are the goals of this character? We want to reach around 700 corruption and kill Abberoth within 2 days of playtime. My playtime varies from yours, but I try to speed through as fast as possible. Simply put, this is like most of the content in the game, and if you can do that in 2 days, it definitely means the character has a little bit of grit, and that's like most of the content, right? Now, of course, what is solo character found? It is a self-imposed flag you can use when creating a character that disassociates it from all of your other characters' progression, items, and inventories. This allows us to test the build in a fresh environment and to make sure that I was able to do it without any extra help from the outside, which means you can simply take my planner and follow that and you'll be able to reach the same results without too much effort. Like, nothing too crazy, right? Now, the build concept is we're playing Bleed Sabertooth. This is a minion build I've been wanting to play for a long time now, and I'm happy that it finally functions. We'll talk about why that is now. But essentially, we're going to be using Sabertooth and trying to apply as many bleeds as possible through various different means. Now, I am not a minion hater, but I'm definitely a minion hater for Last Epoch. And I have been playing a lot of games over the past few months, and every single time I end up playing a minion build in like a different ARPG, I'm just immediately thinking, wow, I wish minions in Last Epoch were like this. And every single time I played Slaughtermancer, I played Hero Siege, I played all these other different ARPGs, I played Path of Exile, all these other games, and like every single one has a better minion experience than like Last Epoch has currently, at least in my humble opinion. And I mean from a quality of life standpoint and the fun factor. There's a lot of minion builds right now that do absurd and crazy numbers, and when I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I mean from a feels good kind of, environment. Like, does it feel good to spend 20 minutes trying to summon Abomination? Does it feel good swapping two different sets of gear just to play minions and have them function? No, it's not fun at all. And apparently EHG agrees with me because they are doing a quality of life pass towards Necromancer minions and Primalist minions next patch. Hopefully we'll see some good stuff, and hopefully this build will get buffed because it's already on the brink of being playable. So we'll see if they end up buffing it or not. Now, what has led this build to be viable all of a sudden? Well, that's because of Ancestral Hunter. Your Sabertooth hits now have a chance to summon an Ancestral Sabertooth that attacks nearby enemies for a short duration. Now, what is interesting about this node is it summons a new minion, the Sabertooth, right? And it's like a mini Sabertooth, and it goes and attacks stuff. Now, normally, this wouldn't be that good, because I'm pretty sure they don't get certain buffs and certain things here and there, like when it comes to like companions and stuff like that. But what's really nice about them is you can get a lot of them very quickly, and it's very easy to get them. So there's a few different reasons why this ends up being so good. So Sabertooth has a companion ability called Flurry Swipes. Flurry Swipes, it attacks 3 times in an area, and it does like a melee attack in an area specifically, right? And Maim allows us to double cast that as well, and we can spam it with stuff like Primal Resonance. So our base of our build is we're taking Sabertooth and we're cycling through a very large amount of Flurry Swipes, which is a lot of hits, a lot of forced hits, right? So we have that on top of the Sabertooth attacking. That creates a lot of Ancestral Sabertooths. And the main reason we care about this does give us extra single target, I will say, but the best thing about it, the best thing about this node is it's not capped per attack. So if your Sabertooth goes into a pack and it hits 5 enemies and it summons 5 different Sabertooths, it can do that with flurry swipes. So essentially, the tougher the enemies are, up to a 4-second duration, right? The tougher the enemies are, the more Sabertooths you're going to summon, because you're going to swipe, swipe, swipe with Primal Resonance, Maim, the ability Double Cast, and that's going to create a very large amount of Ancestral Sabertooths. I've had it sometimes where I've had like 20 to 30, like you can just watch them like walk around and stuff. It's absolutely amazing. There's just so many of them. And this helps with your clear immensely, because all of a sudden, when there's a bunch of enemies on the screen, we benefit from that. And if there's only one enemy on the screen, well, we're playing a solo companion build, we do plenty of damage, that's not a problem. The problem has always been the quality of life in terms of clearing, and this kind of elevates that significantly. So it's specifically really good for the clear, for killing trash. And the reason why this functions is because a lot of the bleed support for minions, at least for Primalist, is generic. It's a bunch of generic support, a lot of just generic minion attack speed, a bunch of generic minion bleed duration, a bunch of generic minion bleed chance on hit, like doublet, right? All of that allows us to scale these minions' attacks, and I've tested it a few times with and without the Ancestral Sabertooth node, and I'm pretty sure the Ancestral Sabertooths right now are giving me like half my DPS right now, like half of them on single target. So my Ancestral Sabertooth is doing a decent amount of damage, but Ancestral Hunter and the nodes after it are doubling my damage on single target, which is great. That's really good. And that means that we can benefit from these nodes. Now, it's a lot better for bleed, I believe, than it is for like the other kinds of scaling, mainly just because like, I'm pretty sure there's certain nodes inside Ancestral Sabertooth's tree that work for them. Maybe the bleed on hit nodes. I'm not entirely sure. There's like a lot of things that could either be bugged, unintentional, and stuff like that, especially with last Epoch these days. So I'm not entirely sure, but all I know is the Sabertooths actually seem to do something, because I have played the build with and without the Sabertooth, the Ancestral Sabertooths. I've tested it so many times in a row now that like I am very positive in terms of the damage numbers and everything that they are contributing significantly in terms of clear and for single target, which is great. Now, the last thing I want to talk about that really enables a build like this is a stat stick like Scales of Lemniscate. One of the biggest problems with minion builds right now is you need to scale their damage, their health, their survivability on top of your survivability. So you have to worry about your minion stuff and your stuff. And the biggest problem with this is it's a lot of prefixes. It's a very large amount of prefixes, and normally those are prefixes you don't have access to, especially if you want to start like strength stacking to actually be tanky, because there's like health regen stuff with strength stacking. Eventually you could go like Vessel of Strife later on with this character. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But the biggest problem is just not having enough stats for your minions to survive. And remember, we need generic minion HP because these Sabertooths have HP bars. They can be damaged and they can die. So we need to make sure that we have enough HP scaling to make sure the Sabertooths don't die. And Primal Resonance pretty much makes it so that the Sabertooths survive. So Scales of Lemniscate very nicely. Not only does it give us a lot of flat health, which is something very hard to get as a minion build, like just flat health, especially as a Beastmaster. Beastmaster is not like, it doesn't get that much health, especially if you're trying to like scale health regen, right? Not only that, it gives us a lot of minion health, a lot of percent minion damage, and specifically here, there's a suffix called damage over time for minions that can roll really high that we can get access to on the LP. All of this combined lets Scales of Lemniscate scale us to the moon, and it helps us out significantly for this kind of setup. Now, speaking of mandatory items, all of these items are mandatory eventually when you want to start pushing corruption, as you're going to need the damage because, it's not like the best build ever, right? Specifically, you're looking for generic minion bleed chance. You want as much generic minion bleed chance as possible. You legitimately cannot get enough of it. You literally can't. I looked it up. You literally cannot get enough minion bleed chance for it to be a bad investment. So on the chest, on the helmet, on the idols specifically, the idols are a big proportion of this. You can get idols with minion bleed chance and like other stuff. Like you just want as much minion bleed chance as possible. Doublet of Ono's Toll is a very strong damage item early on, as not only can it roll with a lot of LP very quickly, it also has a lot of generic bleed chance, a lot of generic bleed duration, which we normally don't get access to. Like, we want as much generic bleed chance as possible. I tested it a few different times, and generic bleed chance is the way to go. And then also as well, Scales of Lemniscate, just having a Scales, not even a Slam Scales, is a huge step in the right direction to scaling your damage to the moon. And of course, having a 1LP one with like increased damage over time for minions is absolutely absurd. Eventually you want one with either a melee attack speed just to make your own convenience or parry chance, or you can get physical penetration on the other suffix, which can, apply to your minions, which is nice. Now let's talk about the skills we use. Mainly, this is like a very strict set of skills. There isn't that much you could change. I really wouldn't change what we have here. Everything is integral for the build's functionality. It's not like when we play Mage where you have like 4 good skills and one like, we'll use it, why not kind of thing, right? This is very specific set of skills that we're using this time around. Now, for Summon Sabertooth, stuff we like is like stuff like Ancestral Hunter and Ancestral Bond. This will make it so we have a 22% chance on hit generically to summon an Ancestral Sabertooth. That's on melee hit with it. That's on the Flurry Swipe with it. If it had a spell, that would work too, technically. It's very nice to get that many Sabertooths. And like I said in the intro, they actually seem to function, which is great. Patient Predator is a lot of more damage. Of course, for bleeds, and then Savage Catalyst allows us to get even more Flurry Swipes, which means more hits, which means more Sabertooths, which means more damage, and the most damage is humanly possible. Like, Summon Sabertooth is most of our damage, is like half of our damage, but we want to just get as many of these little Sabertooths as possible. Now we have Swipe here. Swipe is very important as it gives us access to Primal Resonance. Primal Resonance gives us our Sabertooth a lot of healing, and it also triggers Flurry Swipes. So we can scale the cooldown on this. It goes to like a 2-second cooldown. You can scale that and get a very large amount of Flurry Swipes very quickly to scale our damage very highly. And of course, it also keeps our Summon Sabertooth alive. Aspect of the Panther and Sabertooth's Endurance, it'll make it so Aspect of the Panther actually applies to our Sabertooth. So it's a lot of extra global more damage, and also gives us some health regen, which we direly need for our own defenses. Frenzy Totem just allows us to get more of what we want, which is just more flurry swipes. Thanks to Maim and Furious Cry, gives us an extra cast of flurry swipes every single time we cast it, and then also makes it so that flurry swipes doubles. So we not only do 3 hits, we do 6 hits per time we do it, which ends up being a lot more damage. It also gives us a lot of extra health regen for free, and that's just really nice. Now, Warcry actually has a lot more usage in this build than normal because of the way that Flurry Swipes work, where it's like an AoE melee attack and it overlaps. We are incentivized to pull enemies in with Warcry to try to group them up together. The reason being is we can hit a very large amount of enemies with Flurry Swipes as long as they're in a tight spot, which means we can summon even more Sabertooths. The closer they are together, the more Sabertooths we can make, which the better our clears, and of course, it just helps us out clearing. So having our Warcry constantly pull things is great, and that's why we turn it into a totem. The totem version, it does a bunch of pulls constantly, and it helps us get enemies where we want them to be. And Debilitating Shout is a stacking frailty stack, which can give us frailty for free, so you don't have to waste an affix on it. And going along with the same line, Fear Leap also gives us access to another pull. So not only do we have Warcry Totem doing it, we also have Fear Leap giving us a lot of uptime for doing so. And we also get access to nodes like Pack Leader, which gives our Sabertooth to run with us. That's very important, especially in later corruption and stuff like that, because if you're trying to zoom, you want stuff to follow you. You don't want them to just sit there and not do anything. You definitely want it to follow you. Like, no questions asked. Like, you want the minion to get to you for sure. Now let's talk about offensive stats that we care about. So the biggest thing we care about is minion bleed chance. That is the first thing on our list. Then the second is minion bleed duration. That's one of the best scalers of the build currently. And then also as well, minion bleed penetration, wherever we can get it, if we can get it, right? Then percent minion damage over time, percent minion damage, and then strength helps out a lot with this build because we're getting a bunch of health regen from strength, and we also get a bunch of armor. And it also scales the base stats of the Sabertooth, the base HP, which allows us to keep it alive. And I believe it's the same thing for the Ancestral Sabertooth as well. So just the more strength we have, the more base HP they have, which then multiplies with the HP that we have, making the HP that we do have, the percent HP, more valuable, which then makes it so that we don't need as much of it to keep them alive with the same amount of percent HP, which then makes it so that we can afford more affixes for more damage. Then, of course, as well, minion attack speed is like the last thing. You can get it if you can, but like mainly all these other things are like way more important than minion attack speed early on. Now, for defensive stats we care about, we are a strength stacking build. Like I said earlier, strength is very good for the Sabertooth. It also gives us a lot of health regen. It also just gives us a lot of armor percent, and it makes us very chunky for the low amount of HP that we have. We do care about minion health. If our minion's dead, then that means that we no longer have damage, which means we no longer are killing stuff, which means that we will die. So we definitely want to keep our minion alive, so it's very important to have enough minion health. Now, health regen flat is very strong for this because we want as much minion health regen flat because this allows us to scale off of our strength. We need the flat regen to scale with our strength. So getting flat everywhere or where we can is good. Then, of course, as much added health and increased health as humanly possible early on. Eventually, you might want to go into like a Vessel of Strife setup eventually, but right now I'm going with a Twisted Heart of Ulcrios. The main reason that we care about this is not only can it give us a bajillion HP on the implicit there, as you can see, which is almost as much as our chest gives us, it also gives us about 30 strength, which is a lot more than a lot of other items. To put that into perspective, right? This Heart of Ulcrios gives us 140 it's 120% increased damage, a bunch of minion base life, and a bunch of armor, like 120% armor, right? All in I think how much? It's like a 60% increased regen. So this Twisted Heart of Ulcrios is absurdly strong for a setup like this because not only gives us all these defenses, it gives us all this damage, and it gives us all this survivability. All of it combined in one nice niche little package, which is great for us. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as not only is that the best way of supporting me, it's also the best way you can show me that you want more content like this. Now, let's go in game and talk about the characters, shall we? Yo ho, character select again. This time we're naming ourselves off of another song. This time it's going to be an Ado song. Oh my goodness, I've been absolutely in love with her work over the past few weeks. I literally went to her concert about a few weeks ago. It's been absolutely amazing. Just great. Just really good music. Now, we are going to be leveling this character in a little bit of a different manner than we normally would. We're going to be leveling it, I think, with Stormcrows, and that's mainly just because I wanted to level it with minions. Technically, in my personal opinion, it would be much better to just simply go into Tornado to Werebear for leveling and then swap into, summon Sabertooth at level 40-ish when you have enough currency to swap your mastery. But no one really likes that, to be honest. I don't mind it personally. I like to level quickly. I personally would just level with Storm Totem because I like Storm Totem, but you can level with Summon Stormcrow. It is a thing to do. Now, I'm pretty sure with this character, I did a bunch of experimenting while leveling, so it might be a little bit different than normal. Yeah, here you are. I was trying to level with Gathering Storm and Tempest Strike at the same time, and it's not the best. Primalist leveling is not the best in the world, although the champion that I ended up getting in the beginning here is absolutely absurd. As you can see, not only is it gain damage when hit, it also has increased attack speed and venomous, meaning it can apply a bunch of poisons to us. Just really disgusting champion overall. Like, the fact that this can even spawn at this level is insane, especially for a Primalist. I'll be honest, like, I should not have spent all this time killing it. I should have just ran past. But there was also this Nemesis here. And also as well, I'll be honest, I just kind of wanted to do it. Because, like, I'm just like, this Ziggurat of Ruin is so absurd that I actually want to try to kill it on this shitty fucking Primalist leveling setup, right? Just to show you how bad leveling as a Primalist really is sometimes. Like, the 1 to 20 leveling process for Primalist is always so rough. And even then, once you get to level 20, it only gets slightly better. Oh my goodness, I hope that with like the minion changes, like the quality of life changes, they buff Summon Wolf and make it a lot better. We'll see. Hopefully. I'm hoping for that anyways. I do hit a Bleeding Heart though, which will help us a little bit early on. Now, I do get access to Summon Stormcrow. At this point, we're going to be swapping into it. We're going to be using the node that will spam their companion ability, and we're just going to scale at that. That will give us the most comfy leveling ever, right? Like, Stormcrows are actually pretty nice while leveling. They do a very large amount of damage. I did luck out and get a Hearthenan's Vow as well, which was kind of nice, right? Very nice. And like, they're not the worst leveling experience ever. It's definitely a lot better than like a lot of your other options early on. Like, Tempest Strike is like kind of I don't like it. I know it does good damage early on, but like, I don't like it. Gathering Storm, for some reason, just always just doesn't do enough damage, and then like, it's just a damage problem, to be honest, from everything I've seen. That's like the biggest issue, because like Sentinel, it has good damage sources, good damage stuff, right? With like Hammer Throw and Rive and stuff like that. While like Rogue is just Rogue, it has a lot of good options. Even Cinder Strike is usable this early on as a Rogue, right? You can literally use Cinder Strike to level through the campaign. It's not terrible, I promise you. And then like Mage just gets access to Glacier and Volcanic Orb. So like, just comparing it to a Primalist like League Start, I'll be honest, like, from a perspective of trying to get to Monolith as fast as possible while also having a comfortable time, Primalist is probably F in that regard. But Primalist has some really good endgame builds. It's just, this first 20 levels, right? Now, we do have access to the cooldown swipe stuff. We have access to all the companion abilities, and we do have access to Beastmaster. So we have 3 crows now. that's about where stuff actually starts popping off and we actually start doing respectable amounts of damage. Also, our clear actually goes through the roof, as the swipe cooldown node doesn't even have that long of a cooldown. What's really nice about leveling this way is it means that we can very smoothly transition into summon Sabertooth without too much effort and too many problems. Now, we did level all the way with the Stormcrow setup, and then once we got to level 40ish and we got to Empowered Monos and we got access to Sabertooth, we swapped over. And it was a very seamless transition. A little bit slow because I don't have movement speed on my boots, but pretty much like, you know, the Ancestral Sabertooth node, like the one that like makes a bunch of the little white kitties there, it ends up being pretty good early on. Like, it's not bad at all. Like, it definitely feels pretty good so far. Like, it feels really good to run around with a Sabertooth that actually spawns other Sabertooths. Like, I'll be honest, very nice experience, very pleasant experience. Definitely something that I want to try again next patch, for sure. I really want to try it again. I've seen other people play like with melee Sabertooth, like a lot of damage. And there, we just got the second more companion damage node. Hopefully that will help us, you know, make the character not look too worse. But like I said, as you can see, even right now, even with the small amount of scaling that we have currently, our Sabertooth's already summoning a very respectable amount of minions on the side. Like, I'm very happy with this kind of setup, even at this stage. We don't even have that much minion bleed, and we're doing plenty of damage to, you know, cover early on. Like I said, it's always very slow early on as a primalist because, you know, unless if you have Storm Totem with the movement speed node and you have like the haste from like Maelstrom, you're always going to be moving like a slug, unfortunately. Now here's our summon A-Bomb here. I don't remember how fast this was. I don't think it was that. Oh, actually, no, it was pretty fast. Okay, yeah, that's pretty fast. Not like the fastest thing ever, but fast enough for sure. Especially for, you know, all the scaling that we're going to get, because we're missing a very large amount of scaling, obviously, right? All right, here's our second monolith with a little bit of extra scaling, some actual gear that actually makes sense on our character. As you can see, whenever we have a group of enemies that's a bunch of trash, it ends up being very good for us because Sabertooth goes in there, it like does a bunch of flurry swipes, and then we end up with a very large amount of Ancestral Sabertooths, which then cleans up the rest of the pack. And this just leads to it being a much more convenient playstyle than before. Like, that's like the thing that I don't see harped on enough, is just the feel of the minions when you're playing them. Because, like, don't get me wrong, stats are cool and all, but if they don't go and like actually kill stuff, it feels terrible. Like, why would I ever play a minion build like this when I could just play like, I don't know, a spark charge like sorcerer or something like that and like clear the entire screen, or like a racing strike. Like, a racing strike literally hits the whole entire screen. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't do as much damage as like a minion build does, but like, I'll be honest, I spend 99% of my time in monoliths. Like, even if, let's say, you're the most sweaty, hardcore, like, I want to kill Uber Abberoth like 50,000 times this patch, you're going to be spending a very large amount of your time in monoliths. So like, you want to make that time good, right? Here's our Rye. Something I forgot to mention with this build in the intro is the scaling. Specifically here, when it comes to this setup, it's very, it ramps, right? You need to summon the Sabertooths, and then those Sabertooths need to apply bleeds, and then you need to get to the point where you've summoned your max amount of Sabertooths after 4 seconds, and then of course after that, then you need to make sure that you're, you know, dealt enough bleeds, because your bleeds have long durations. So this build ends up doing a lot of damage as long as it can just stay on the target for a very long period of time, which is good for us because we're pretty tanky for being a primalist, which is nice. Now here's our Lagan. One really annoying thing is sometimes we just can't be next to our Sabertooth to get all of those swipe procs and stuff like that, but, you know, it's not a big deal. Lagan did go down pretty quickly, though, thankfully, because, like, you know, we have the damage currently, which is good, because otherwise I would be complaining. Now here's our Emperor of Corpses. Same shizzle, same stuff, just simply try to pump as much damage as possible. As you can see, our Summon Sabertooth barely took any damage from the explosion. Thankfully, all of the stuff that they've been doing with minions, making them way tougher to like area attacks and stuff like that, helps out a lot, especially in the early game. Unfortunately, because of the way that like corruption scaling and all that works, it doesn't work that well late game, but like it's not that big of a deal. Summon Sabertooth is definitely tanky enough to face tank most things, which is good. I don't think it'd be able to face tank a lot of stuff in Uber Abberoth though, but we'll definitely see, right? I know I've seen other people do it and stuff like that with Uber Abberoth with Sabertooth. Like, it's possible. It's a thing you can do. But, like, I don't know. Like, but it's nice, at least for the early game here. Nice. And I remember this character feeling pretty smooth while I was playing it, mainly just because the new stuff, the new node that, like, gives you strength, gives you health regen per strength, really helps carry your early game health regen that you normally wouldn't have. As you can see, like those beautiful, like beautiful Fury Leaps, pulling those enemies in, allowing our Sabertooth to flurry swipe them all to create more Sabertooths, which then helps us clear more stuff and helps us do more damage. As you can see, like you have the damage is starting to scale now. Like, we're doing great, starting to function like we're supposed to. Like, we're killing monsters like we're supposed to. Like, this is, like, I'll be honest, like, this has been one of the most pleasurable experiences I've had playing a minion build, mainly just because it just feels good to play, because I'm not like constantly babysitting. That's like the thing, is that's like the difference between a good minion build and a bad minion build, at least for quality of life, right? Is, do I have to babysit them? And in this case, it doesn't feel like I have to babysit the Sabertooth. Like, I don't have to babysit the positioning of all of my minions to make them clear in the most optimal way, right? Like, they just do what they need to do. They have plenty of damage scaling. Like, the Sabertooth will go, like, anything the ancestral Sabertooths don't kill is something the big Sabertooth will kill. So like it feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. Now we have the shamans here. Hopefully they can get grouped up. That's like one thing that would be nice in this fight, if they actually grouped up, because then you get even more ancestral Sabertooths. Now, I'm kind of sad that you can't see the ancestral Sabertooths up in your upper left, is to see how many you're summoning. That'd be a nice quality of life thing to be able to see. But I can see we have really good damage when like we start ramped up, because we end up with just so many overlapping things. Like, we have so many little mini ancestral Sabertooths. Like, I can see whenever the Sabertooths have to move, you can see how many we actually end up summoning, right? Here's our Herot kill. And see, even with like only 80 bleeds or 100 bleeds on the target, we're doing plenty of damage. I don't think, yeah, I think the Sabertooth got frozen there, but that's not that big of a deal. It's just so nice watching this build work, because I'll be honest, I've just had so many bad experiences with minion builds of late that like having just one actually function and be good from the beginning, from the moment I spec'd into it to the end of spec'ing into it, because what'll end up happening is like sometimes I'll play a minion build and it seems fine, right? Like, I played a Vine Bear recently in a 0 to hero sense, and it seemed fine until I got to like 700 corruption, and then it just like kind of petered out a lot for the amount of investment that I was putting it in terms of time, at least early game, right? Now, remember, like I said, I'm trying to keep a very realistic like idea of what my gear should be at these points, right? All right, so here is our Harbinger of Fear. Yeah, it's going fine. Definitely don't have that much time to ramp up. We have a lot more damage than you think we do because of the ramp up, right? It takes a few seconds to ramp up. And because of the constant movement of Harbinger of Fear, we don't get to apply said damage constantly, right? It's not that big of a deal, though. It's just a little bit more annoying than anything, right? It's like, whatever, it happens, right? That's definitely how these kind of builds feel when you have like a bunch of Giga Ramp. As you can see, our health regen is like going through the roof as well, by the way. Like, we regened like our entire health bar so quickly. And as is tradition, gotta boop Jurla's snoot to get access to Circle of Fortune again. Now here's our first empowered monolith. This is where a lot of minion builds that I've been playing go to die. Is our first empowered mono, mainly just because they just don't meet my standards. Mainly because like when I play these builds, I like view it from the lens of someone who isn't like the best at playing the game. So they haven't been going out of their way to scale their character to the appropriate amount. So if I can have a very good and smooth time, that means that someone who isn't putting as much effort as me can have an okay time, right? That's why I have such a high standard, because like I said, not everyone plays this game like it's their job, right? Like no one does, like for the most part. Like I'm a very small minority of people, very, very, very small. Like the fact that my hours are over 1,000 put me in like a very small bracket. So I'm very realistic. Oh my god, so many Sabertooths. But I'm very realistic in like what I want things to do. I want things to do more than normal to make up for the fact of someone not being as good at the game, right? Now I do this every so often. Here's the DPS check. As you can see, our scaling is actually pretty good right now. We're already like 200 to 300k ticks. To give you an idea here, by the way, mind you, back in the day, about a year and a half ago, 400k DPS, like 400k ticks or whatever, like 800k DPS or whatever, like was a very acceptable margin back then. And we're already almost to that margin, like immediately in empowered monos with shitty gear, right? Obviously, we want more than this, way more than this, right? Now, I'm going to be doing a few woven echoes with this setup, mainly because I want to imprint a Scales of Lemnis skate, because a Scales of Lemnis skate has an item level of 70, an LP level of 70, so getting a 1 LP one would require us to slam a bunch of different ones. The reason why we care so much is Scales of Lemnis skate has rolls on it, and it has very large rolls. Like, the difference between a good Lemnis skate and a bad Lemnis skate is drastic. So making sure that we get the best of the best while we're working on this is very important. Oh my god. This is why I'm getting a new computer, folks. If you're wondering, look at my lag. Oh my goodness. So much lag. Oh my goodness. This is why I'm getting a new computer. Oh my god. Now you can see me here trying to spam some Ascendance runes, trying to get access to the Lemnis skate, because the Lemnis skate is the biggest power spike on this character. We already have a doublet, and we can use this obsidian axe for a bit because it does have minion physical damage on it, but a Scales of Lemnis skate is like our best in slot. Like that's exactly what I want right now. Like that's exactly what I want. Like that's all I want. It's not like the easiest thing to get, but it's definitely worth it for us. All right, so here's our second Harbinger, Harbinger of Chaos. This is before I realized that like you could just push characters to like 300-ish corruption and then, you know, scale your corruption from there and use Glyphs of Envy and stuff to skip and get to all the other Harbingers and do them all at like 300 corruption. This is well before that, because it was like a few months ago when I recorded this. So we're going to go through the Harbingers like I normally would. Also as well, we really want the health regen blessing, because we are going health regen for our sustain method, as you can see. So we definitely want the upgraded health regen. That would be really good right now. As you can see, doing plenty of damage, not like the best damage ever, but you know, Harbinger, the female Harbingers don't let you like stack much damage on them as they move a lot, especially if you're trying to stay away from them and not die. Thankfully, because we are a health regen build, we can run away and just not take damage when we need to, which is great. First Harbinger means the first Oribus, and of course we get a Blood Oribus. This specific skill, that damage over time meteor skill, is an absolute like pain in the ass whenever we're playing a minion build, because he seems to do it on a nearby enemy, and of course if our, you know, Sabertooth is attacking the boss, right, that means that he's going to put it wherever the minion is if you try to run away, because the normal tactic of dealing with the meteor is to simply run away real quick when you know he's going to spawn the meteor, but you can't do that if your minions are in the way. Here's a third Harbinger, Harbinger of Treason. Thankfully, you can actually kill the worm with Sabertooth, so makes it way easier, much easier fight. As you can see, we're already at 174 corruption. We're trying to push as quickly as possible so that we can start trying to get those LP odds up for that Lemnis skate, because getting a good Lemnis skate will give us a lot of extra damage. I promise, like it's a lot of extra damage. Whew. As you can see though, our regen's pretty good. Like Like, I don't know if you're noticing, but like we can face tank a lot of this stuff too, and that's because we have a lot of strength scaling, which gives us a lot of armor, and of course it makes our minions tankier, right? But it's mainly for our own convenience, so that we can just face tank shit like this, right? Like it's just so nice just being able to face tank it like this. It's very convenient. So I had to do something that I normally don't do very early on, is do a tier 4 Julra. The reason being is Lemniscate is like a level 70 plus item, I believe. So it requires you to be a tier 4 to be able to actually slam it, which, not the easiest thing to do when it's considering that it's maybe a few hours into the character, depending on what you're playing, especially for a minion build that's like constantly taking the damage over time. But very respectable show from Summon Sabertooth being able to do it this early. Because like I said, getting that Lemniscate is absolutely amazing. We got plenty of damage for it too. Definitely gotta dodge that basketball though, because that void basketball could probably one-tap me, to be honest with you. Like that could very easily one-tap me if it hit me, so definitely gotta dodge that for this character. And those lightning balls can definitely do a lot of damage as well very early on, especially when you have no scaling, right? Just waiting for my character to actually go and grab the stuff. Finally, after so long, we got the Lemniscate we want and the damage over time roll that we want. That looks absolutely beautiful, even months after me doing it. Beautiful. Now we get to show this puppy off, dude. Let's see how much scaling we really have now after snagging that. Ooh, look at those bleed ticks. Nice. Already 300 bleeds already on the target, which is great considering that this is like probably the first day of the character. I definitely can get to like 300 corruption day 1 for sure. So like definitely first day of the character. All right, time to start speeding through. We got the Harbinger of Ash, the notoriously anti-melee Harbinger. Not that big of a deal because we can just move away from him when all the nonsense is happening, and seems like our Summon Sabertooth's tanky enough for it, which is great. Now here we go with another doublet. I'm trying to gamble my doublet here because we're trying to get health and the bleed chance because I obviously want a good doublet. Got a 2LP one here, and we end up failing it, but it's still better than the doublet we're wearing for sure, but it definitely is still a failure, quote unquote, right? But we did creation the base, so we can try again. Here's Harbinger of War. Pretty easy, just even more damage. We do have to dodge all of the cold stuff though, unfortunately, because they end up putting a lot of cold stuff on the ground, and I can't necessarily stand next to the Harbinger sometimes, so we end up losing some DPS because of that. But whenever we get to actually DPS them down, it's great. Here comes the 6th Harbinger, Harbinger of Pride, the notoriously easy female Harbinger, Harbinger of Hatred. This one was a total of 1 minute 30 seconds on this one, totaling the Raya kill and the Harbinger kill, which is nice. Nice timing. 8th Harbinger, just trying to get as many of them done as quickly as possible so we can move on, because I was working on a lot of content at this time, working a lot of extra stuff, right? Harbinger number 9, Defilement. This one's, an easy one, not too big of a deal. Thankfully, you always do like the easy ones early so you can do all the hard ones later, right? So we do end up slamming something really good here. So I end up with an increased health T6 or 7, I think it's 6, yeah, T6 with a minion T5 bleed chance. That is like perfect for us. Unfortunately, due to the fact that we have chosen Beastmaster as our mastery, it means that we have significantly less health than other builds for some reason because of the way that their skill tree works, meaning that we need to go out of our way to get even more HP to be able to sustain ourselves. But that is an absolutely beautiful doublet for this point of the character. And for the last, we have the Harbinger of Destruction. Sorry, we've been speeding through it, but it's like sincerely so many of the same Harbinger fight over and over and over again. We gotta speed through this shit, right? We did end up dropping a 1 LP Twisted Heart though, which was very convenient Now we can put our T7 strength on it, and this is when like we really get to the end of the character in terms of gearing. At that point, I feel pretty much complete, and now we can go do Abberoth and all the other stuff. Now, here's the Abberoth fight. It should be good. I will be quiet and just let the music play. Enjoy yourself while we watch our, fated companion try to deal with Abberoth here. All right, here is some 300 corruption gameplay real quick. Still trying to get that coveted 3LP doublet here, but I don't have enough time to go and turtle everything because, I'm going to be ending the character very soon. I've been very clinical when playing these builds. I haven't spent too much time on each one, mainly just because I've been trying to work as much as possible because I only have 4 months to make all this content instead of, the gracious 9 months we've been given in the past. So I gotta work harder to make the same amount of content, right? So it's been a lot of effort, especially because, I've been raising the standards of what I do with my characters. So that just ends up taking a lot more time, right? And then of course as well, I've been changing the format and making it so it takes significantly more editing. So I've been trying to just push as much as possible. So, I don't want to actually end up spending that much time on each character. But here, we're doing 300 corruption monoliths like it's nothing, mainly just because, we're just tanky enough to just have everything start attacking us and then we can start pulling things in and Sabertooth can do the rest. Like I said, the idea, the whole concept is simply to run into a pack, put down a Warcry Totem, and then apply Sabertooth. That's pretty much it. That's all this character is. That's all how it functions. Even with chance to dodge, we're summoning plenty of Sabertooths, very smoothly. It just feels okay. It feels okay. It's not the best clear ever, obviously. You're never going to get that kind of clear with a minion build. But, we'll see. definitely looking forward to seeing if there are any buffs to this archetype. I'll be very excited if there are. Now it begins where we kill this Harbinger like 10 to 20 times in a row, trying to generate a large amount of glyphs of envy and glyphs and Harbinger needles, so that we may push our corruption all the way to 700 in the mere period of like an hour or so. This requires us to do a gauntlet of Orobuses around 6 or 7, and we'll push all the way from 300 corruption all the way to 700 in the period of like 30 minutes at most. So, lots of Harbingers in a row. Let's go. This is Harbinger number 1 through 20. Woo! All right, which Oribus do we get first? It is going to be a Lightning Oribus. Lightning Oribus is nowhere near as dangerous as some others. His lightning attack, that thing right there, can definitely kill you later on if you're not prepared. But he doesn't have anything scary like the Blood Oribus. Those sparks, they do a decent amount of damage, but nothing too crazy, right? Blood Oribus is definitely by far one of the most dangerous Oribuses that currently exist. Although I do think we might need to up the minion health on our, Sabertooths, because I don't want them to die prematurely before they are able to do damage right. But thankfully, our actual summon Sabertooth can just face tank everything and take most of the melee attacks from the Shade of Oribus, because one of the biggest problems with him is he has hands, bro. Another Oribus. This time it's a Fire Oribus. Come on, baby. Another one. Another Oribus. Another Oribus, this time with some scary damage over time pools, which we don't like, right? Because they can do a lot of damage to us. Another Oribus. Thankfully, because of the way that our build works, we can just like run around and just let our health regen sustain us, which is very convenient. But another Oribus. Unfortunately, because whenever they move around, we have to like re-spin up the blades, right? Which is annoying, but it's like whatever. So in my folder where I put all my footage, I specifically labeled it as fuck this guy. I see why. Because of the damage over time mountain that he like pushes down, like the big meteor. As you can see, it actually kills my Sabertooth. I'll be honest, there has not been much that has killed my Sabertooth this entire time. If my memory is correct, I believe the only other time my Sabertooth actually died was when I was fighting like 5 rare Gorgons all at once, and they put like 5 poison damage over time pools. So that gives you an idea of how much damage that damage over time mountain does. Because like you can see like him get hit by all the other attacks by Oribus. He doesn't take shit. Right? And if I'm there and able to actually swipe to heal him, he actually kind of tanks it too, which is kind of funny whenever I'm actually like able to hit Oribus with a melee attack. But yeah, the companion mechanic, cool. Everyone loves it. It's so much fun, man. Woo, zooey mama. So much fun. Everyone loves the companion mechanic, totally. Yeah. I really hope that gets changed. I hope to God it gets changed. We'll know probably in a few days from now. And here's the final Oribus that locks the gate between us and 700 corruption. And of course, it's a Blood Oribus with Shaper Balls, so definitely a very scary Oribus, right? All the combination required to make it as scary as possible, but we still get through it just fine. Because, we're actually playing a good build for once. Also, as well, War Cries are really good for popping the bubbles. Also, as well, like, our minions can also pop the bubbles. So, on a minion build, the Blood Oribus is nowhere near as scary. Alright, and here's some 700 corruption gameplay. This is pretty much taken right after that 300 corruption gameplay. So, double the amount of stats without double the amount of gear. Let's see how well it does. It's kind of funny because I noticed that the transition from 300 to 700 corruption was that I ended up getting way more Sabertooths because things survive way longer because, things have actual health here, which means I end up with way more Sabertooths than I did at earlier corruptions, which, made it so that the speed of my kills and stuff like that were nowhere near as slow as I thought they would be, right, with the current damage that I have because, you end up just summoning so many Sabertooths that it makes up for it, right? Which is very convenient and very nice, right? The moment I even get to start doing flurry slaps, you can see the Nemesis actually dying. But yeah, I'm a little squishy, mainly just because I haven't been able to invest too much in health regen. I think I'm pretty sure right now I was at 400 flat health regen at this point. That's like maybe it takes 7 seconds to fill my HP bar, which is not, ideal. You could definitely have way more. But whenever I do take a hit, I don't take that much damage. And that's because of all the strength scaling. Suffice it to say, strength scaling this early on is one of the main reasons why this can even function this early on, because we actually have some DR. Because as a Beastmaster, you don't get access other than aspect of the boar for tankiness. So like having access to all this extra armor for free while it also scales our damage and our minion survivability is a very quick way to making a build way more functional than before. Because like, let's say all of that strength was attunement. All of a sudden, I'm squishier than like, I don't know, a squishmallow. Like it's terrible. So it's very nice to see the build actually be able to face some stuff, right? And here's the last Harbinger, the 700 corruption one. Oh, so nice. Like I said, I played this build a few months ago, so it's nice to finally see the end of the character, right? Because I had it all set up and ready to go, and then I got really busy. And then all of a sudden, I had like 12 videos already planned, even though no one was watching them at the time. So I was like, all right, we're going to wait until the patch comes out so that, we can actually make some content. So here we go. We're finally finishing this saga that I started a few months ago. Unfortunately, because of the way that our tinkiness is, like him hitting us with both of those, the slam and the fire projectile would probably end up killing us. It's not like the best amount of damage ever either, right? We're playing an ailment minion build with very, very little support, right? Like if you like look at crit minions and you look at ailment minions for Beastmaster, there is like little to no support in comparison. Like you can get so much crit multi for your minions, it's not even crazy. But like, like for you can't really get that much other minion stuff. In the future, we probably will though, which is nice. All right, and that's it for this video. With all that being said, this has been Dread, off to go do something else. Bye.